Well, Doug, I hope you're proud of yourself.
You know, I wrote it off as a coincidence when you just so happened to release a video about Freddy vs. Jason a bit before my own. But you went and did it again, didn't you? You damn well went and did it again. Nostalgia critic? More like nostalgia criminal.
I know it can't be easy to come up with new ideas all the time when you've done this for as long as you have, but to actually steal video ideas from lesser known YouTubers that they plan months in advance? Oh, that is a new low, buddy, and you should be ashamed of yourself. And you guys watching, if you think I'm only bringing this up to stall for time because I really don't want to watch today's movie, well, you're right. I really don't.
Halloween. By now it's synonymous with, well, Halloween, the 1978 horror classic by John Carpenter that, while it didn't necessarily invent the genre, popularized the slasher movie formula and paved the way for any mass maniac that would follow, and still inspires the genre to this day. So when the Texas Chainsaw Massacre was remade in 2004, it only made sense that the next classic in line was Halloween. This time helmed by metal musician and film director Rob Zombie, famous for his grungy, brutal style, as shown in his films House of a Thousand Corpses and the absolutely brilliant The Devil's Rejects.
Look, I'm not gonna jerk you guys around. I really don't like this movie very much. It's going to be an absolute chore to sit through. I wish I had someone here with me to watch it with. Someone who has experience with this stuff. Someone horrible. Yeah, that would have been great.
Infamously, the remake makes the decision to elaborate quite a bit on Michael's childhood, and thus the movie begins by introducing us to his family.
You know that new waitress over at the Bingo Lounge? She can give me the freaky eye.
Oh, the whore with the big tits hanging down to her knees?
Maybe I'll choke the chicken, purge my snorkel all over them flappy-ass tits.
Good, we'll have a good fucking time.
I will.
I hope she likes cripples.
Bitch, I will crawl over there and I will skull fuck the shit out of you.
Oh, I'll get the crutches for you.
And as you can see, they're a positively charming bunch.
Michael seems to cope with his family being like this by murdering animals, as he is shown having killed his pet rat, though he claims it simply died. To which his own big sister responds,
What'd you do to him? Stroke him to death? Elvis.
Is it me or does this sound more like 15 obnoxious dude bros watching their first porno than it sounds like a broken home?
seriously, there's portraying an abusive family and then there's being cartoonish. This took about 3 seconds to become the latter. It's been 4 minutes and I'm already fucking exhausted at this. Obviously, Michael also gets bullied at school because his mom is a stripper, so he's got it pretty bad all around. When he fights back, the principal calls in Michael's mother to discuss his brewing cruel tendencies, along with child psychologist Dr. Samuel Loomis, this time played by Malcolm McDowell. Michael, however, sneaks off and brutally murders one of his bullies with a big-ass stick. And just to make sure that every single person in the audience can really understand how much Michael's life sucks, his sister bails out of chaperoning his trick-or-treating on Halloween to screw with a boyfriend, his dad makes fun of him for murdering animals instead of people for some reason, and he ends up spending his Halloween solemnly sitting on the sidewalk while his mom strips. All set to the tune of Love Hurts by Nazareth.
Jesus Christ, Rob, we get it. Everyone is terrible. Everything is a log of shit that you have to take a new bite out of every day, and you know a lot of songs. Congrats.
Also, hey, remember how in the original Michael got his mask from a random Halloween store, meaning literally anybody could be him, and it added to the anonymous nature of the character? Well, get a load of where it came from this time.
Open.
Wow.
What?
Take that stupid thing off.
Oh, come on, babe. I want to do it with the mask on.
Oh yeah, cause that's the image I want to associate with the face behind 4 decades of terror. This skinny motherfucker plowing little Jenny from Forrest Gump.
Even Michael starts to think that all this is getting a bit out of hand and embarks on a murder spree to set a stop to it. He begins by slitting his father's throat and beating Judith's boyfriend to hell with a bat. Once that's done, he puts on his mask and goes to his sister's room to live out an incestuous fantasy or two.
Steve, stop it. Michael? Michael, what the fuck are you doing in here? Answer me. Michael? Michael!
Surprisingly, slapping the kid with a kitchen knife and blood on his hands is a bad idea, and after stabbing Judith in the stomach, he chases her through the house and finishes the job.
Which would be a lot easier to take seriously if his oversized mask didn't make this look like a video game in big head mode.
So naturally, when Michael's mom gets home, she's more than a little horrified to find her son covered in blood sitting on the porch with his baby sister in his arms, and thus she calls the authorities.
Myers family and was described by police as Manson-like in its viciousness and more horrific than anything Hollywood could imagine.
Wait, what? What did that reporter say?
And more horrific than anything Hollywood could imagine.
Oh no, Rob, tell me you didn't write this line.
Tell me you didn't actually write a line for a character for the specific purpose of bragging about how violent your movie is.
Do you think you're proving something? Do you think you're making a point? All you're doing is coming across as an insecure, desperate man who has nothing else to bring to the table. It's like the movie-making equivalent of sending the girl you like a dick pic at 3 a.m.
So then Michael is hauled off to the Smiths Grove Sanitarium and put under the care of Dr. Loomis. Loomis's care and his mother's visit seem ineffective, however, as Michael claims not to actually remember doing what he did. Which probably isn't helped by the otherwise well-intentioned advice he gets from the janitor Ishmael, played by frickin' Danny Trejo.
Look, you can't let those walls get you down. You gotta look beyond the walls. Learn to live inside your head. Hey, there's no walls that can stop you there.
So, taking this advice to heart, Michael starts to cope by making masks, but all they do is make him slip further away, to the point where he stops speaking or acknowledging his mother when she visits. During one of these visits, she gives him a family photo of him and his baby sister and steps outside with Loomis so they can talk for a bit. Also, the nurse can have a moment to prove to the audience why she really shouldn't be working in a fucking sanitarium.
Cute baby. Couldn't be related to you.
Michael reacts to this comment about as well as you'd expect from a child spree killer.
Shock treatment.
You know, with those metal utensils they obviously give to violent mental patients.
Oh, whoops! We almost forgot to add a little more edge to the murder scene. Let's see how Michael's mom handles this episode, huh?
Alright, so let's see here. That's alcoholism, domestic abuse, verbal abuse, animal abuse, child murder, abusive mental facility orderlies. Oh, that's a rare one. Sexual retcon of franchise iconography. Oh, that's even more rare. Suicide and parental abandonment. Wow, just one more of these and I get a full plate!
Naturally, this event only worsens things, and over the next 15 years, Michael simply continues to make masks in silence. And eventually, Loomis brings Michael some sad news.
It's strange, Michael. In a weird way, you've become like my best friend. So, I'm sorry to tell you that this is going to be my last day. Michael, I have to move on. I'm sorry.
Oh wow, okay, I'm impressed. It's nice to see that you care enough about your patients to not try and capitalize on their mental, and he's on a book tour for a book called The Devil's Eyes, all about how evil Michael is. Lovely. Best friend, my asshole.
So the now adult and enormous Michael is basically just stuck in Smiths Grove Sanitarium for life, with just his masks and Ishmael for company. Or at least that is until the day one of the new orderlies gets drunk at work and invites a friend over so they can have some fun with a female inmate. Which they decide will be hilarious to do in Michael's cell.
Come on, bitch! Come on, get off!
Oh, we got raid! I got raid! It's a full plate! Oh my god, I've never won anything before! What do I win? Ow! Ah, fucking visual puns!
Michael doesn't actually care about this until they start messing with his masks, at which point he does short work of them and leaves the facility. Even taking the time to murder poor Ishmael on the way.
I was gonna
Come on, Trejo, you can take him! Machete don't drown.
Actually, Machete does drown, and Michael escapes to a nearby gas station where he encounters none other than Ken Foray while he's taking a shit and reading Skank magazine? Really?
Okay, I'm sorry, I'm gonna go on a tangent for a bit, but I just find the idea of a magazine called Skank so funny I had to look it up and see if it was real.
I couldn't actually find a porno magazine called Skank, but apparently there was a British mid-90s satire comic book magazine aimed for black audiences called Skank. Unfortunately, it turns out I'm just blind and he's reading Swank, which is an actual porno magazine. And also a lot less funny.
But still, just let me repeat this scene to you. Michael Myers meets Ken Foray of Dawn of the Dead fame, playing a character called Big Joe Grizzly, who is sitting in a grimy gas station bathroom, taking a shit while reading a porno magazine. I mean, I'm gonna need a new plate at this rate.
Sorry about that. Focusing now. Anyway, Big Joe Grizzly here actually manages to give Michael a bit of a fight, but Michael soon murders him and steals his undoubtedly shit-stained clothes before heading for Haddonfield so the actual remake part of the movie can begin. And so we finally meet this movie's version of Laurie Strode, the innocent but relatable young girl who is about to find herself at the center of a night of terrifying, brutal, gruesome horror for no good reason.
Guess what, Mom? Mr. Nichols touched me the wrong way. Oh, whoa, Mom!
Okay, that is so not
You want
funny.
a screwdriver, Mommy? You want a hammer? Look at this, Mom.
Laurie!
I'm sorry. Okay.
What the fuck was that?
Okay, you know what? I actually get it. You want to distance yourself from the source material a little. You want to give the character more edge than just being the nice neighborhood girl. That's fine. And to be perfectly fair, she's not quite this obnoxious in the rest of the movie either. But seriously? This is how you decide to introduce the girl we're supposed to think of as an innocent victim of a horrible attack? This is going to be our first impression of the character we're supposed to feel sorry for and root for, and who defined the concept of the virtuous final girl? By having her start her day by making a rape joke at her mom and finger fucking a bagel?
I'm sorry, but what kind of writing class did you go to where modern and relatable translates to obnoxious harpy?
So Laurie goes about her day and hangs out for a bit with Tommy, the boy she's going to babysit that evening, while Michael returns to his old home and pulls up the floorboards to find, oh, come the fuck on!
Okay, I hate doing this, but now you're just forcing me to go into nitpick mode. So,
how the hell does a latex mask survive more than 15 years under the floor through changing seasons with little more than a scratch and a crack here and there? When did a random 12-year-old kid find the time to somehow tear up the floorboards and hide a mask immediately after murdering his family in a fit of rage? How did the police or his mother, who still lived in the house for months after the tragedy, never notice that the floorboards had been torn up? Did he somehow flawlessly hammer them back in place while he waited for mom to come home?
I don't want to be that guy, but this is obviously just an excuse to make the iconic white face dirty because Rob Zombie is apparently incapable of filming something without smearing it in grime.
From here on out, the movie actually plays out very similarly to the original, with Michael stalking Laurie and her friends for a while. One of whom is played by Danielle Harris, who played Jamie Lloyd in Halloween 4 and 5, by the way. So that's, at least 3 gag castings by now? No. Her dad, the sheriff, is played by Brad Dourif, who we all know better as Chucky. 4 gag castings.
Because literally all you need to make a horror movie is a body count and cameos. Good to know.
Meanwhile, Loomis has been informed of Michael's escape. And to put it as mildly as I can, he is not particularly happy about the news.
This is all your fault. I mean, you're responsible.
I cannot be responsible for everything that goes on here.
Oh, no, of course not. You just consistently hired obviously shitty people who made it no secret that they thought abusing the mentally ill was hilarious. Be honest with me, buddy. Did you draw your job at a county fair lottery or something? Because I don't see a hint of all the years of hard work it should take to get to your position, asshole.
Since Loomis, cash grabbing be damned, is the only one of the institution with half a functioning brain cell left, he quickly reasons that Michael is going to Haddonfield and heads there himself. And like I said, things play out largely as we remember them, and most of it actually works decently well, I find. Michael desecrates his parents' graves and steals a tombstone. Linda and her boyfriend Bob enter the Myers house, because apparently an abandoned murder scene makes for a perfect shack, and the killings begin. Michael nails the boyfriend to the wall with a knife and does his sheet ghost routine to murder Linda, and... Wait, what's that on the radio?
It's Don't Fear the Reaper by Blue Oyster Cult. which Judith was listening to before Michael murdered her. Oh boy.
Oh, I get it. This is supposed to thematically connect this murder to the other time he killed a girl after she had sex in his house, thus signaling that history is repeating itself and he's starting a new murder spree. Fantastic.
And you know what? To Rob Zombie's credit, he's usually very good at using contemporary music to emphasize the scene, and this probably could have worked wonderfully. If that was actually how Michael's original murder spree started.
But it wasn't! He killed 3 people before he even got to his sister in this movie. So congrats, Rob. You just completely destroyed this clever little connection you tried to set up thanks to the over-the-top background story you decided to give to a character that never needed one in the first place.
I mean, are you knocking down all your own setups on purpose? Am I missing some brilliant art film statement here?
In either case, Michael strangles Linda, and while Loomis arms himself for his inevitable showdown with Michael, Laurie heads off on her babysitting job, giving Michael ample time to burst into her house and murder her parents. After this rampage, he spots a picture of Laurie and inspects it for a bit before leaving, seemingly with a new goal in mind. Once again, we're back to things largely going by the original, with Annie dropping her little sister Lindsay off at Tommy's place so she can have her boyfriend Paul over at her house and screw in peace.
Not that I really understand why she's so worried about having Lindsay in the house for that, considering they're both perfectly fine with behaving like this in front of children that are young enough to still believe in the boogeyman. Classy.
But this time Annie actually manages to make it home in time for sex, and in true slasher movie fashion, Michael interferes and takes Paul out. Annie proves to be a little harder to get rid of though.
That's it, Annie! Kick him in the jack-o'-lanterns!
Michael eventually retaliates with a good old-fashioned bitch slap, and since Laurie is preparing to walk Lindsay back home, things are about to get really hairy. Loomis, in the meantime, has finally managed to convince Sheriff Chucky over here that Michael is dangerous when he theorizes that he has come back for his baby sister. When Laurie and Lindsay make it to Annie's house, they find...
Okay. Look, I'm not laughing at the fact that Michael strung up the boyfriend like that. I'm totally fine with a bit of Halloween obsession. What really gets me is this part.
They walk in, they turn on the lights, they see a jack-o'-lantern that wasn't there before, and Lindsay starts screaming her head off before she even notices her bleeding, battered, naked sister on the floor.
Okay, look, obviously that's not what the movie is going for, but it really ends up looking like Lindsay is just so afraid of jack-o'-lanterns that seeing her dying sister on the floor is just an afterthought. And I can't help but love it.
Anyway, Laurie screams for Lindsay to run back to Tommy and get help while she calls 911. Michael is still in the house though, but he's not exactly in a hurry to attack Laurie just yet.
Okay, you know what? I admit, I like that shot. I like the idea of Michael taking a little moment to play with one of his Halloween decorations. It's really creepy, and it reminds me a lot of him inspecting Bob after he impales him. So, good one.
Anyway, Michael attacks Laurie while she's on the phone, and Laurie gets her one actually pretty awesome moment in the film. She runs back to Tommy's house and hides in the bathroom with the children. The police arrive soon after, and for a moment it seems as if they're going to get Laurie and the kids out safe.
But little did Michael know that one of these cops was named Matt Cordell. And now I just gave all the slasher fans watching this an idea for an awesome crossover that's never gonna happen. Have fun with that.
Once that's over, Michael simply grabs Laurie and walks off with her without even trying to touch the kids, who run down the streets and happen upon Loomis. After taking Laurie to the Myers house, Michael silently shows her the picture he got from her home and briefly unmasks rather than attacking.
I don't understand. Please leave me alone.
Oh yeah? Well, that makes 2 of us then.
So, what? Michael wants her to be his family again? Yeah, okay, that could maybe have worked. If you didn't spend every minute after the childhood chapter showing him growing into a horrible, irredeemable monster who even killed the one person who was nice to him when he was locked up.
You've done nothing to support this sympathy angle. In fact, you've been actively working against it. How's the audience going to appreciate this moment now?
Anyway, Laurie plays along long enough to grab a knife and attack Michael, who drops his hopeful reunion act and starts chasing her. When he corners her in the neighboring yard's pool, Loomis arrives and brings him down with his gun long enough to bring Laurie back to his car. But as anyone who has actually seen a Halloween movie knows, Michael eats bullets for breakfast and he attacks the police car that Loomis apparently just stole, I guess. Michael knocks Loomis out, allowing Laurie to grab his gun and run back inside the Myers house, instead of, literally anywhere else in town, where we get this bit of hilarity when she runs to the first floor.
I'm starting to imagine that this is just a movie about a guy who really hates Blue Oyster Cult fans, and it's becoming a lot more fun as a result.
Keep it down! They're all the people living here, you idiot! Shut the fuck up! I have work in the morning! Eventually, Michael and Laurie's struggles lead them to fall off the first-story balcony, and when Laurie wakes up, she attempts to shoot Michael with the gun, which turns out to be jammed. But when Michael wakes up and grabs her arm, the gun suddenly decides to work, resulting in Laurie shooting Michael in the face. And with that, the movie finally ends with, oh, give me a goddamn break!
Oh, thank Christ, it's finally over. Well, at least now it can't possibly get any dumber.
Mr. Sandman, bring me a dream.
Okay, so yeah, like I said in the beginning, I don't like this movie very much. Every minute of it just oozes of being exactly what so many of these remakes get accused of being. A product that spends so much energy on trying way too hard to prove how much more extreme it dares to be that it completely forgets to be an engaging film. But I won't say it's all bad though. Zombie's directing still has a lot of style, and I actually do think that most parts of the movie that actually remakes the original work pretty well. It's everything surrounding it that I feel ends up making the film reek of desperation. It takes a horror movie famous for its sneaking, predatory atmosphere and updates it by slapping every bad thing imaginable on screen with reckless abandon and populating the world with awful, awful people that nobody has any reason to care about while disguising itself as clever and sympathetic. I mean, when fucking Chucky and the vampire bartender from Dusk Till Dawn are the only halfway decent people in your film, you have a fucking problem.
Look, let me be real with you guys for a second. As much shit as I've given Rob Zombie in this video and given this movie, I actually really respect the guy, and I normally really like his work.
House of a Thousand Corpses is a lot of fun. Haunted World of El Super Beasto is hilarious. The Devil's Rejects is a goddamn masterpiece. Lots of Salem is visually stunning, and 31 is, if nothing else, a fun romp through Rob Zombie's usual aesthetics. He has an instantly recognizable style that is very much his own, and a great ability to make you side with reprehensible characters. And when he uses that in his own projects, it works wonderfully.
And I do understand that when you bring in a new creative team to work on an existing franchise, it's not only their job to add their personal spin on things, it's something they're going to want to do in order to leave their mark on the franchise in question. I get that. And with Michael Myers being such a blank slate as he is, Rob Zombie is obviously as entitled to his interpretation as I am to mine. And if you like this version, then more power to you. I just can't help but fundamentally disagree with the ideas here. And if you'll take a moment to listen to how I see Michael Myers, then maybe you'll understand why.
The way I see it, there's a reason Michael Myers wears a white anonymous mask. There's a reason he has the barest minimum of a background and that his motivations are unknown. There's a reason he's called The Shape in the original movie's credits, and that the children in the movie keep asking if he's the boogeyman. And that's because for all intents and purposes, he is. He's just Haddonfield's version of the boogeyman.
I see Michael Myers as a concept. I see him as a vaguely humanoid shape on which the audience can project their fears and their local ghost stories. He's a manifestation of the idea that there are evil forces out there who will sometimes hurt you for no discernible rhyme or reason. And in my mind, that's what makes him so scary in the original film.
Hell, even the idea that Laurie is his sister, which I'm generally on board with, was met with a bit of scrutiny back when Halloween 2 came out, precisely because it strips away some of his mystery. And other movies that try to elaborate on his background story have failed miserably, and I don't think that's a coincidence. So when this movie comes along and spends half its runtime trying to humanize a character that was defined by his lack of humanity in the first place, all it ends up doing is accidentally implying that facing abuse in your youth is a shortcut to becoming a killer so vile that professional psychologists will label you the most evil creature that ever lived. And it's such a shame, because with its brutality, its grimy aesthetics, and its ultimately fairly tragic story, I think there's a pretty decent modern slasher movie in there somewhere. I just don't think that movie is titled Halloween.
So that's my take on this somewhat controversial remake. And I do hope that if Rob Zombie himself or any of the movie's fans should ever see this video, they'll understand that even if I do genuinely dislike the movie, most of my jabs are exaggerated for fun and we can all just agree to disagree. After all, Halloween is not about who does horror right. It's about having fun and embracing our darker, more playful sides. And for some of us, that means enjoying a good scare, no matter what you think that is. And I hope you all have a great Halloween doing just that. And you know what? Speaking of embracing our darker side, hi everybody, I just want to say happy Halloween and thanks a bunch for watching this video. If you liked it, don't forget to hit the like button and leave me a comment. And if you're new, do check out the rest of my channel and possibly subscribe to it if you want to see more videos about movies, comic books, games, and all sorts of other nerdy stuff. I also have plenty of social media you can follow, and there are links to all of them in the description below. But before you go, let's just have a little fun. Do you recognize my costume? If you do, then leave a comment in the comment section and tell me who you think it is. And on the 1st of November, I will choose a winner who will receive one free drawing of a horror character of their choice. So, you know, Chucky, Freddy, Jason, please someone who's somewhat easily recognizable so, you know, they're easier to draw. And I'll give you one hint. This is not from a movie. So that's it for now. Happy Halloween, everybody, and see you very soon. Very, very soon.